At the outset, I wish to advise the House that I am constrained by procurement law in publicly discussing matters relating to a live procurement process. For this reason, I will not be in a position today to disclose any information relating to the procurement specifications or anything that is commercially sensitive or integral to the process. I would also like to reiterate at the outset that the Government is acutely aware of all major procurements, that they must be managed in a compliant manner, and to that end, safeguards are in place to ensure the process is undertaken in conformity with procurement law. A representative of the Chief State Solicitor's Office is a dedicated advisor to the Department's project team for this particular procurement process and is advising on the process and the preparation of all tender documents in consultation with the Office of the Attorney-General. In addition, a procurement process auditor has been appointed with the express task of providing assurance to the Secretary-General as accounting officer as to the conduct of the procurement process. The assurances provided by the auditor to date are published on my department's website. As I've stated previously in this House, the provision of an effective maritime search and rescue service is critical to Ireland as an island nation with a strong maritime sector. The sector depends on the reliability and professionalism of the Irish Coast Guard and all its component parts, including the Coast Guard Aviation Service, to offer a service which can deploy at a moment's notice to rescue people in distress and bring them to a place of safety. The Irish Coast Guard has a distinguished record in delivering search and rescue services and a wide range of other essential aviation services for many decades, including the coordination and management as appropriate of aviation services delivered by the Air Corps and civil operators. The next aviation service contract allows the Coast Guard to meet its obligations as prescribed in the National SAR Plan, the National Oil HNS Contingency Plan, and its capacity to support other state agencies, in particular inland search and rescue support to An Garda Síochána and provision of air ambulance services to the HSE, including day and night support to the island communities. The issues being raised by Senator Craughwell have been comprehensively addressed during previous debates and motions in this House and through correspondence directly with the Senator. I can assure the House that the competition for the next aviation contract will continue to be run in accordance with the Public Spending Code and procurement law. It is imperative that a suitable contract be in place quickly to meet our obligations to protect lives, to support communities and the maritime sector, to deliver on the National Search and Rescue Plan and to provide value for money services to the citizen. Thank you.
Minister, you're welcome to the House for this, the third debate I have requested on procurement process for the next SAR contract. I wish to acknowledge that in the letter of the 4th of August signed by yourself and Minister Ryan, it states that you as ministers are somewhat removed from the day-to-day execution of procurement process, that you have engaged with your officials to understand and reply to the issues that I have been raising. Let me ask you, Minister, are you happy to be subservient to the officials in supporting them in blocking Oireachtas' oversight of this procurement? Let me ask you, Minister, have you regard as to how taxpayers' money is spent? Are you even the slightest bit concerned that your officials are proceeding with the procurement of Ireland's next SAR service without in-house aviation expertise the AAIU recommended, following the fatal crash of Rescue 116? Are you aware of the fact that the UK has just signed a SAR contract for 18 helicopters for 12 bases, fixed wing and drone support for a total of 1.6 billion for 10 years, where your department's tender currently stands to cost us 1 billion for 5 helicopters for 4 bases and possibly 1.5 billion by the time it's signed as a contract. Are you the slightest bit concerned that before the contract is awarded, plans are being put in place to circumvent the AAIU's recommendation concerning new flight time limitations imposed by the Irish Aviation Authority on SAR operators? The August 4th letter states that the new regulatory framework underpinning this allows for any operator, new or existing, to apply for a variation on the maximum flight duty period of 12 hours, which would allow for a full 24-hour crew roster. with the approval of the IAA, is subject to the development of fatigue risk management systems by the operator concerned. Has your department learned nothing from the reckless management of the SAR, which cost 4 lives? Are you aware that the UK fleet includes 6 AW139 helicopters, which your advisers rejected without one scrap of empirical evidence to support their opinion? Can you tell the Irish public what experience the advisers of your department, are using in SAR? What experience have they got in SAR? As it's my information, they are not SAR pilots, and they never have been, and they are not SAR crew. Let me turn to the business case and Fraser-Nash. The letter of the 4th of August dismisses any potential conflict of interest between Babcock's Defence and Security Group, which may be bidding for the Department's Coast Guard SAR contract. It's my understanding that neither you nor the Cabinet were made aware of the following. All companies within the Babcock International Group, including Fraser-Nash, use the same secretariat. All Babcock companies, including Fraser-Nash, use the same address. Were you or the Cabinet made aware of the directors of Fraser-Nash held directorships in the Babcock companies? I have the names here, but I won't name them. But one of the directors has 59 directorships in Babcock as well as Fraser-Nash. Another one, 13 directorships in Babcock companies as well as Fraser-Nash. Another one has 8 directorships in Babcock companies as well as Fraser-Nash. Another one, 2 as well as Fraser-Nash. And the final one, 1. That's all 5 directors of Fraser-Nash are in some way or were at the time in some way related to Babcock. Am I correct in my belief that the initial business case, when presented to Cabinet, did not highlight the connection between Babcock and Fraser-Nash? Were any precautions notified to the Cabinet in the document when it approved it? If not, what is the reason it was left out? Let me now turn to the Air Corps 415-page submission. The August 4th letter states that the Air Corps provided their own costings in relation to their hybrid option. It was noted that at the time that the Air Corps proposal was reliant on the procurement of at least 2 additional aircraft. How did they cost an additional, possibly 2 additional aircraft? How do you cost that in a business case? Was it 2 aircraft? Was it 3 aircraft? Was it 4 aircraft? How many aircraft were the Air Corps supposed to be charged to have? The August letter states that the AW139 helicopter type, originally proposed by the Air Corps, did not meet the Coast Guard's requirements in terms of payload and interoperability. I've seen Air Assurance's limited 3-page document which criticises the 415 pages of the Air Corps. Not one scrap of empirical evidence is provided. Nothing is provided to support their view. Can you explain to me, Minister, how the aircraft which will form 1/3 of the new UK fleet and is in use all over the world in SAR roles did not meet the Irish requirements? What do we know that the rest of the world doesn't know? Given the submission from the Mountain Rescue Ireland, where they stated they had difficulty with heavy helicopters unable to land on soft ground in the mountains, and the risk of cliff rescue situations of casualties being blown off the cliff due to the downdraft of these heavy helicopters, can you advise if this was taken into consideration? I invite you to look at the video which was made by CHC themselves, where they talk about the difficulty of downdraft and the damage it can do in a rescue situation. Was the question of operating costs considered? Clearly, the AW139 is a much cheaper helicopter to operate than an S92. The August 4th letter states that discussions are ongoing with the Air Corps on SAR. Can you advise when the last meeting, phone call, letters, emails were exchanged on this matter? Do you, Minister, support your Secretary-General of your department when he makes the most outrageous and possibly libelous allegations against the Joint Oireachtas Committee members? He stated in a letter, another source of risk is the possibility that a member of the committee may have a relationship with one of the participants in the competition and might put questions to the department.
Sorry.
Nearly finished, Carl.
Yeah, I know that, but might I interject to say that in the absence of the Secretary-General of the Department, I don't think
Minister
you can make a political charge to the Minister, but not...
The Minister is responsible for what's said in her department, right?
But not directed at him personally.
Well, the department made these allegations. I mean, I need to know if the Minister stands over that.
Political responsibility.
My question is, who is this civil servant who feels he can treat elected members of this House in this way? Ministers do not accept that. Minister, do you not accept that the Oireachtas and its joint committee have an oversight and governance role set out in the EU Directive 2014-24 EU of the European Parliament and the Council of the 26th of February 2014 on procurement, Article 83 particularly, last two paragraphs. Finally, in the last SAR contract, the public were told that we were getting a fleet of new helicopters that would cost 40 million each. We did not get a fleet of new helicopters. We got second-hand helicopters. They were not valued at 40 million euros each. Minister, all I would say to you is I haven't heard a comment from you or your department that has convinced me that we are not going the wrong way. The public have a right to know. What is it that we can never deal with issues in public procurement in a proactive way? This is how we finish up with a children's hospital that was initially costed at 600 million, which will probably cost 3 billion. Why are we always looking back with statements from departments saying lessons have learned and we won't let it happen again? Quite frankly, this is a disaster. It should go back. The Cabinet should say go back and start all over again.
No, sorry, Minister, to respond to the debate, please.
Thank you. And I note a number of issues raised today were previously addressed before this House under the Shannon Private Members Motion on the 28th of May 2021 and again under Private Members Motion and Government Counter Motion on the 2nd of February 2022. I would like to assure the House that this procurement process is being undertaken in line with the government decision of the 27th of July 2021 and with EU procurement law, most notably European Union Award of Public Authority Contracts Regulation 2016, Statutory Instrument number 284/2016. There is no basis to support calls for government to suspend or further delay the process. Furthermore, if the procurement process does not continue, then the government will be in breach of public procurement law when the current contract expires. Moreover, lives could be put at risk if government allows the current contract to expire without a replacement contractor being appointed. An independent external process auditor is continually reviewing the conduct of the process on an ongoing basis. Assurance statements provided by the independent external process auditor to the Secretary-General of my department are published on the department's website. To conclude, I would like to reiterate that it is imperative that a suitable contract be in place quickly to meet our obligations, to protect lives, to support communities and the maritime sector, to deliver on the National Search and Rescue Plan and to provide value for money services to our citizens.